Welcome to AtTheRaces.com and our very special Cheltenham Festival preview. It is the Supreme Novices Hurdle we have a look at now. Very shortly, we get the views of Timeform's Dan Barber. He'll be running the roost over all of the likely contenders here. Before we do anything, though, let's take a look at some of the main contenders.
The Tuller tank being ridden now to try and close on the outside. Racing down now towards the final flight. And Vautour in the lead. Chased now by the Tuller tank as they come down towards the final flight. And it's Vautour in the lead at the last from the Tuller tank and over it. Vautour leads the Tuller tank. They are clear of Quick Pick Vic and King of the Picks and up towards the finish. It's Vautour is going to make all the running to win the Deloitte Novice Hurdle. And Vautour wins from the Tuller tank second.
Vautour just ridden along a little bit in third place. And then comes Irving coming with his challenge. They've outpaced Messini's chap, who's now last. And now Prince Siegfried in the black comes there very stylishly from Irving on the extreme left in the white on the sleeves, who's come to challenge him. Vautour's 2 lengths off them in third place. Here's the last flight now. Irving and Nick Schofield just coming through to lead. Prince Siegfried is down. Prince Siegfried down, interfered with Vautour, and Irving is going to maintain an unbeaten record here in the UK over hurdles with Nick Schofield. He's won the mighty Kennel Gate.
Lieutenant Colonel with Wicklow Brave closing up just behind the leader. In third place on the inside is Real Steel, and now Wicklow Brave coming there strongly on the near side to pick it up as they come to the final flight. Wicklow Brave at the last. Wicklow Brave made a slight mistake. Lieutenant Colonel on the inside, but Wicklow Brave is now beginning to move on as they run up towards the finish, and Wicklow Brave will keep his winning run going in good style. Wicklow Brave and Ruby Walsh beat Lieutenant Colonel.
Joins, looks in the eye, Volt fast, and moves on into third place. Sidbury Hill moving with Manila online. Out in front, JOSSES Hill having a look around. In second, Volt fast. Sidbury Hill staying on over on the far side. JOSSES Hill is very idle out in front, having a look around. Over on the far side, Sidbury Hill tries to launch a challenge. JOSSES Hill, however, is doing enough. 3 to 4 lengths clear, having to be driven out, but will improve for the experience and stretches out better near the line. We've learnt a lot. JOSSES Hill beats Sidbury Hill.
First Mohican is serving it up to him with over to the far side Civil War, then Huff and Puff. Last fly jump all important. The leading two both jump it okay. Near side is First Mohican being made to work hard by on the far side Fairlock. Huff and Puff running a stormer in the green and yellow jacket over to the far side, and now looks the chief threat to First Mohican, who's taken the lead. Huff and Puff on the far side has run on past Fairlock, racing into the closing stages. It is First Mohican out in front. Huff and Puff pushing him all the way home, but it will go the way of First Mohican. Useful horse on the flat and could be useful over hurdles, has won on debut to beat Huff and Puff in second.
Near side ahead of King William, who's a close third, and now on the run towards the final flight, VALSEUR LIDO out in front of Age of Glory, who's pressed on the inside by King William, who's battling on for the second spot as they run now towards the final flight. VALSEUR LIDO, King William improving on the inside and over the last. VALSEUR LIDO, couple of lengths in front of King William and Age of Glory, and the long odds on favourite going to follow up his impressive Cork victory with another very comfortable success as VALSEUR LIDO and Davy Russell beat in second place King William, Age of Glory third.
So 1:30 on the 11th of March. We will know then the Supreme Novice Hurdle winner. Be handy to know it now, though, wouldn't it? With Dan Barber from Timeform joining us to preview this race. Hello, Dan. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
What a potential clash this is. As I say, Nichols and Mullins going head-to-head straight away.
Yeah, this is a race in which I think we've been really spoilt in recent years. We had that phenomenal renewal a couple of years back where Q-Card was a short price favourite and happened to run into the likes of Spirit Sun and Sprinter Sacre and Alpha Off. There's no saying this is going to match that race. I'm not sure any Supreme will be as strong as that one, but it absolutely looks a fascinating clash. You've got the Nichols versus Mullins story, you've got Henderson with a lively runner as well, and you've got the internal story with Mullins himself because he actually runs 2 in the race, both of whom are hard to split on Timeform ratings and must have good chances.
Well, that's interesting because you would have thought Vautour and VALSEUR LIDO are very different horses in terms of form, because as we saw with Vautour in that little clip there, when he won the Deloitte Novice Hurdle, he beat a horse we know very well, the Tullow Tank, and beat him nicely.
And this is a fascinating race to analyse, really. The doubts were raised at the time, and probably rightly so, as to whether the runner-up, the Tullow Tank, was at his best. And another thing you can say, which is arguably to the detriment of Vautour, the winner, is the fact that they allowed Ruby Walsh an easy lead, which is a criminal offence as far as a jockey's concerned. We saw what he did in this race last season with Champagne Fever when they allowed him to dictate from the front, and he absolutely punished them that day. I think the Tullow Tank is a horse who will benefit from 2.5 miles. Vautour beat him for speed to an extent, but he beat him under a good ride as well, and I would have slight concerns as to whether a literal reading of that form is wise, even though his chance on form, if you take it at face value, is clearly a very good one.
Irving shot to the head of the market for this race after his demolition job at Kempton fairly recently, his 4th and most recent win, unbeaten of course. We saw him earlier winning at Ascot a couple of times. That defeat of Splash of Ginge was quite eye-catching, and Nigel Twiston-Davies' horse is going to reoppose. Yeah,
and I think he'd have beaten Prince Siegfried had he not fallen at last as well. But if you take it literally through Splash of Ginge, then he must have absolutely outstanding claims. He's probably run to a rating, if you judge him purely on what Splash of Ginge has done since in winning the Betfair Hurdle, probably run to a rating in the low 150s. That would have him top rated in this race. Instead, what we've done, we've rated him value extra for his latest win in the Dovecote. He's right there in the mix on the figures. He could be rated higher, and it's hard not to be impressed by this horse. He's got bags of speed, but he's stoutly bred by flat standards, German flat pedigree, and he saw his races out well over middle distances in his native land. So there's an awful lot to like about this horse, and the only slight niggle is that he's done it all on sharper tracks and on right-handed courses, so he'll be tested himself left-handed for the first time in the big race itself. But that aside, which is merely a minor quibble really, I think he is the right favourite in terms of what he's done so far, the visual impression created, and the fact that he's with such leading connections as well can never be a bad thing. They've won this race a couple of times in recent seasons, and yeah, I think the market does at this stage seem to have it about right with him just ahead of Vautour.
Willie Mullins could easily get off to a flying start here. The next horse we look at, again one of Willie's, is Wicklow Brave, who won a listed Novices Hurdle last time out here at Punchestown. He's 2 from 2. Obviously much talked about this mistake he's about to make at the last. He won't get away with that at Cheltenham.
No, he probably won't, but I suppose if you judge him on the balance, he's looked a pretty fluent jumper bar this one error, and I think it says a lot for him that he was able to overcome that mistake. The runner-up Lieutenant Colonel had been an impressive winner on his previous start, winning a 30-runner event, and the third horse, Real Steel, has come out and won himself since. And look at Wicklow Brave on the running. He's essentially coasting home, despite having made that blunder. He's not been spoken about as widely as Vautour for obvious reasons. He hasn't got the Grade 1 form, but equally, I think there's a lot to like about this horse, and I imagine it's a pretty difficult decision for Ruby Walsh, even though the market and everything else would suggest that it's a no-brainer and he'll go for Vautour.
Yeah. Nicky Henderson, of course, always a man to fear at the festival. His runner here, JOSSES Hill. On At the Races, we first saw him really, of course, look at a very nice horse of the future, winning a bumper here at Ascot. And this was great to watch. It doesn't tell us a lot form-wise, I'm sure, Dan, but we almost saw a horse making rapid progress within the confines of just one race.
Yeah, he was a horse who had been 22 lengths behind another Cheltenham Festival novice, Hope Faugheen, in a bumper for his previous stable, but bought by Nicky Henderson's team, and looks a horse who's right on the up as well. He has improved literally with every single run. The thing I like about him was, in his early days, he looked something of a grinder. When he won at Newbury on his hurdling debut, he came off the bridle before the second and third and briefly looked in trouble, and it was a similar story at Ascot. He's a horse who was doing most of his best work under pressure, but he showed a different side to himself, and I think it's a horse who's maturing when he was second and just touched off by Royal Boy at Kempton last time. That was a smashing run for an inexperienced horse. He was quite keen early on. He was possibly just worried out of it slightly by a more experienced horse, and his profile is such that I expect him to progress again, and his record is just extremely hard to fault. Very consistent, he finds plenty for pressure, and I think whatever beats him, or if 3 beat him, then they've done extremely well, because he's a horse I'm certain will give a good account.
You sound very excited about his prospects, Dan.
I like him a lot, and I think he's one of the market leaders. You can see a situation where Vautour perhaps doesn't run up to expectations. If you don't think he's quite full value for the Deloitte run, then there is a chance he disappoints. I think Irving, the left and right-handed thing might be overplayed slightly, but that could prove his undoing. But I don't see a chink in Josses Hill's armour. I think he's solid, he jumps well, finds plenty for pressure, and the Kempton effort suggested that he's really learning his craft now as well. So if I was to back any horse, it would be him each way, acknowledging that I think Irving is a worthy favourite.
Josses Hill each way then for Dan then. That's the Supreme Novices Hurdle. Keep it right here on attheraces.com for the very best by way of the build-up to the Cheltenham Festival.